Hello, my fellow sensitive people. How are you today? All right, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to do a really brief couple throws today. I just want to see if we can find out something about the defense that the Republicans are going to be using. I also want to see if the impeachment trial is having any impact on swaying the way Republicans view the Democrats' case, and if there's any movement. So let's start with a simple prayer. All right, I want to call on white light protection for myself and my viewers as we ask permission from Spirit to access the Akashic records. We call on our spirit guides and good angels to be with us. Give us the clarity and the wisdom that is needed to empower all of us to make the best decisions for ourselves, our families, for the planet, for those we love and those we have strife with, and together let us say, Amen. So this first throw, I just want to see what the average American pro-Trump voter is, if he's having any impact at all from watching the Senate trial. Yeah, I think so. The Empress is coming out. This is the treasure trove. It's also new information coming out. So there's a feeling that information is coming out that had not previously been presented or that they hadn't seen. The other thing that's interesting is that the Ace of Cups is coming out again, which is this thing that's been noted in the past, peace offerings, offerings of love or an agreement, reaching across the aisles. But what's interesting here is we have a base card of an Empress. So it suggests that for many Republicans, they didn't see a lot of this information before, and it is actually beginning to have an impact. Where we are right now, the sun is coming out. So Republicans are beginning to see stuff and hear things that they had not previously known about. And what crosses it? Juggling of money, juggling of coin, juggling of ideas. This may be a period in time when information is coming out that is causing a re-examination of beliefs or a re-examination of previously held ideas about the administration. I'm going to have to move the angle so that people can see this a little bit better. There we go. We do it like that, just so that everybody can see. So Two of Pentacles, juggling coin. I call it the flim flam man. It can also be a trickster, somebody who's trying to hide or confuse someone. What's interesting here also is we have a Six of Swords moving in, which is a desire to go forward, to heal a situation from the past that was rocky. There's still this devil card in the third house, which could be bound to the devil, an addiction, a cult, a belief system, drug addiction. But there's an addictive aspect to the Republican Party. The loyalty to the president or the higher up, the emperor, still suggests that this is a strong relationship that the Republicans have with the president. They feel tied up, and there's a feeling of strife. So I would say that there's definitely a rift beginning to form between some Republicans that are beginning to ask serious questions and are starting to become uncomfortable with what's coming out in this hearing and what they've been told in the past. And you can see some conflicts starting to emerge. There's a real break starting to happen in the Republican Party, and a Ten of Swords is emerging as well. It's going to be really difficult for them with these cards to bail themselves out of the situation that they currently find themselves in. I think the defense is going to have a hard time, and part of the problem is that alongside the Republican defense is this awakening of new information and new documents. Documents are going to be released in the next couple of weeks. We can see a 10 of Wands moving in, new information, and it has something to do with Ta or Torah, the truth, or the light coming out regarding the case that's being tried. I think that they will be able to establish, they'll be able to keep much of their base, the defense, going into this in the coming weeks. However, it's going to be very difficult, particularly with the second charge of obstruction, because we can see here information coming out or possibly being handed over. I want to go ahead now and just individually go through each member of the defense, well, not each of the defense lawyers, but I just specifically want to see if we can find out anything about what the defense is going to be saying by going and looking at the defense lawyers. So I'm going to start with Jay Sekulow. Move that. He's going on with Jay Sekulow. Is Jay Sekulow going to have a good couple of weeks from his perspective? What is going to happen with Jay Sekulow in the next couple of weeks and the defense? Where he is at right now, offers. There is a possibility that they are secretly or prepared to possibly make an offer. They get their wish regarding Ace of Cups. So they're hoping for some kind of an offer or peace deal with the prosecution or the those that are prosecuting this case. There is going to be an attempt to confuse the issue or cause people to become confused about what's going on. And there's also a desire to hold on to information, but there's a judgment coming that could indicate a release of information. And I say that because the Queen of Pentacles is the hidden queen, the mysterious queen who often holds on to information that's not being released. And a judgment coming in to bear the light regarding something that is hidden. And then we can see a Chariot coming in as well. They will not be able to suppress information. We can see here is the defense, the Seven of Wands to defend what is around him. Confusion, Seven of Cups. People don't know what to think. People don't know how to view the information. Strife, Eight of Wands coming in. And then the final outcome is the Lover's card, which again suggests a possible offer. This would go back to the past remote viewings we've had, which predicted that the president would be given the offer of resigning, that we could see an extension of this trial going as long into March or April if they do decide to hear witnesses. And if that happens, which is exactly what Mitch McConnell does not want to have happen, that's when you get a can of worms, because that's when all this information starts to come out. You can see the Judgment coming out here, the Lover's card, and then walking away from a battle he cannot win is the final outcome for Jay Sekulow. Waiting for his ship to come in. There's Trump's card, but you can see here the hope and fear of victory results in him walking away. So I don't think that Jay Sekulow is going to be able to successfully keep information and witnesses from testifying. Okay, that was fun. All right, I just want to now take a look at Alan Dershowitz and see how Alan Dershowitz is going to be doing with his arguments, because he's trying to throw out the third, which is abuse of power. Looks like abuse of power they may be able to throw out, but not obstruction of justice. But let's take a look. But that is the main thing that Dershowitz is working on, the first article. So let's see what's going on with Alan Dershowitz and how he does in the coming weeks. Alan Dershowitz. Alan Dershowitz. What's going to be with Alan Dershowitz in the coming weeks? It's easier for me to do it this way than a generic question because it's attached to a single individual, which is easier for me to remote view. How is Alan Dershowitz doing in the coming weeks? He gets his wish, but there's a Ten of Swords coming. This is somebody who's coming in with a lot of confidence. You can see the Nine of Cups there. He got his wish, which was possibly to try this case or to be involved in this case, but the Ten of Swords is emerging for him. I would say with cards like this, because this is one of the most positive cards and one of the most negative cards at the same time, that this is not going to bode well for him. He is definitely a scholar. You can see the Hermit card there, crossing, and then the hidden information. What is above him refuses to cooperate. The Four of Cups refuses to take the offer. In plainer words, he's not arguing that this information isn't factually true. He's arguing that it's not grounds for impeachment. Whether or not to walk away, the Tower has already happened, and it results in the Nine of Pentacles. Assessing what one already has. This is looking a lot like they could possibly evolve into negotiating a deal for the president to lead to avoid prosecution. You can see here also an attempt to confuse the situation. That offers, again, coming here, Six of Cups, the Death card with the Chariot, moving on, hopes and fears, sacred contracts, confusion of contracts, the King of Cups, the peaceful king. So, kind of what we had seen in the past, there's this energy moving in to the Senate where there's so much information that they're attempting to cover up. There's going to be a court decision that information has to be released, and that includes finances, documents, witnesses, but I'm also seeing the release of documents. And I think that the defense is going to make a calculated effort where they're going to submit something that then opens the way for the prosecution to be able to request additional papers. So they're going to kind of accidentally shoot themselves in the foot. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays itself out. But I don't think they can win the case, so the best that they can hope for is to potentially negotiate an out for the presidents, because this will not bode well for them. It looks like what they're going to try and do is turn it into a trial of the Bidens. So they're going to try and, instead of having it be the president on trial, the defense is going to be to attack the Bidens and try and make it out like it's actually the Bidens that are on trial. So that'll be interesting. I just wanted, before we close today, to check on Justice Roberts and see if Chief Justice Roberts, if it swayed his opinion in any way, either way, or how he's viewing this. Chief Justice Roberts. Where he is at. Secret negotiations, possibly private conversations taking place in chambers is going to be coming up. There's something about offers or discussing what witnesses and information they can collectively agree to that'll be presented. There's something like that that's going to be happening. Conflict, exchange of ideas is right over him. I think that there's going to be some private conversations with Justice Roberts about admission of evidence. They want a speedy trial. They're trying to cover information. There's a chariot there. Confusion. He definitely wants to hear all sides. I keep seeing an offer. Look at that, Ace of Cups. The Peacekeeper, the offer. Some kind of deal being struck. I don't know, by the end of this, I don't even know if the president will be able to run for the 2020 election, or this is really going to harm the president. So much so that they know there's information coming out that's going to result in some kind of an offer coming. I want to look at Lindsey Graham today before we close, just because he's been quoted a lot, and he really changed in the last couple of years, and I just want to check on Lindsey Graham before we close today. If what's going on with Lindsey Graham, and if he's still loyal to this president, or if he's the person that's negotiating a resignation for the president moving forward. If they're meeting with Justice Roberts privately in chambers, and if they're secretly working out a deal for a resignation or some kind of secret deal so that this will stop, then that would make sense why I'm having a vision of defense and prosecution lawyers meeting with the judge privately in chambers. So I just want to look at Lindsey Graham. How's he doing? How you doing, Lindsey? There's a feeling of intense embarrassment when I go into a remote view, when I sit in the shoes of Lindsey Graham. It's like he's becoming increasingly embarrassed, almost as if him being mentioned during the trial is causing him to be a little bit defensive, or to feel a little bit like he put his foot in his mouth a little bit. Very stubborn and very defensive. You can see both the Four of Cups here, but the Seven of Wands, which is to take a defensive stance. Willing to negotiate. I know that he complimented Adam Schiff on his presentation. There's this reaching across the aisle, possibly here, a celebration. The best thing he hopes for is that this whole thing could end. Two of Swords, walking away from the broken man, and then entering a place of Queen of Cups. There's a real desire for the fighting to end and for some kind of peace negotiation to happen. You can see that coming up repeatedly. Grieving what he has already lost and what is around him, his partnerships, his hope and his fears, emotional instability perhaps of the president, and then the final outcome, an offer, money, wealth. Hanging it up. The world. He wants this taken out of his hands. He wants this taken out of his hands. And he wants there to be some kind of peaceful resolution, so that to some extent he wants to leave his relationship with the president. Very interesting. It's as if he's exhausted, he's ready to throw in the towel, and he would like somebody else to come in and take this burden away from him. That's the best way for me to describe Lindsey Graham's cards. I was asked in a couple of different messages to talk about the AG, the AG of New York. What is her name? Letitia James, and why Letitia James would be involved with Rudy Giuliani and Lev Parnas, because I think it was the SDNY and she's AG. It appears that there's been an exchange between SDNY and Attorney General and state charges because of money matters. And so in the case of money matters, they've been exchanging information. And it appears that the main reason why that's happening is because in the case of money laundering or tax evasion, both the feds would alert the state and the state would alert the feds. But I just want to look again at Letitia James and her involvement with the investigations into Giuliani, and the fact that Lev Parnas was Giuliani's associate, and why Letitia James came up, and how the state is involved. It looks like, from what I'm seeing, this is an ongoing investigation that the Attorney General was looking into bribes, tax evasion, hidden money, hidden finances, corruption. She's been looking heavily into this, particularly because crimes took place in New York. Actually, it took place in the state of New York. But these are specifically, it's New York, but it's also overseas. There's an overseas connection. It's state charges, but it's also has something to do with possibly foreign business. And you can see the Wheel of Fortune coming in. So yeah, Lev Parnas is going to definitely have to, look, she's got an ace here. Where she's at, offers. She doesn't like deals. The truth coming out. And then there's the judge. Yeah, Lev Parnas is in trouble, both with the state and with the feds. And so is Giuliani. You can see the court coming in here, a judgment coming. The Nine of Swords for Lev Parnas and the Justice card. So, unfortunately, I think what's going to happen is that the feds handed everything over to the state so that people will not be able to avoid state charges and they will have to cooperate in federal investigations. That appears to be the logic of why Letitia James and the state has been involved in the overlap with federal investigations and also exchange of information, because they're both collecting data. All right, I want to thank you for watching this video from the Oracle of Whimsy. Be sure and share, like, subscribe, and if you're trying to get in for a reading, you can go to tarotwithwhimsy.com. That is, if you're not glued to the TV like I have been. All right, thanks for watching, everyone. Be well, and I'll see you next time. Peace out.
The abuse of power prong. I think the reason they haven't devoted as much time to the obstruction of Congress prong is that their view from the beginning is that this obstruction of Congress is a pretty short argument. Congress wanted documents. They didn't get any documents.